The sound of a $200 bottle of Dom Perignon shattering on polished tile didn't terrify me as much as the look in my sister Cassie's eyes. It wasn't shock. It wasn't fear. It was rage, wild, manic, and personal. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how a biological sister could become capable of something so cruel, you need to go back 1 hour earlier, before the blood, before the broken glass, before my name started trending on local news. The wrought iron gates of Magnolia Springs Botanical Garden swung open under the late afternoon sun, revealing what could only be described as a pastel fever dream. Pink roses spilled over white trellises. Mint green hydrangeas clustered around marble fountains. Cream-colored lilies perfumed the air so heavily it almost made my head spin. Gossamer ribbons curled around white columns. A string quartet played something classical and expensive-sounding near the center lawn. This was Cassie's engagement party. Perfection, curated, filtered, and staged. The invitation had been very clear: spring pastels only. Baby pink, mint green, or cream. No exceptions. I had complied. I wore a pale pink silk dress I'd found on sale at Nordstrom Rack. The fabric draped gently over my atrophied legs, hiding what the accident had taken from me. I'd even curled my hair into soft waves that fell past my shoulders, the kind of effort that made me feel almost normal. Almost pretty. But my wheelchair was matte black. Ultralight carbon fiber. Custom built. Worth $5,000. Every dollar had come from sacrifice, disability payments, freelance editing work done late at night, birthday checks from relatives who barely remembered my name. Compared to the clunky hospital-issued chair I'd been stuck with after the accident, this one moved like freedom. I didn't think Cassie would care about the color. I was wrong. I rolled myself up the accessible ramp, thank God the venue actually had one, and scanned the crowd. Cassie stood near a champagne fountain, glowing in ivory lace that probably cost more than my annual medical supplies. Her blonde hair was swept into an intricate updo. Her makeup looked airbrushed in real life. Greg, her fiancé, stood beside her, kind eyes, soft smile, architect posture. I'd met him only 3 times, but he'd always been polite. Genuine. I wondered, not for the first time, what he saw in her. Still, I approached with cautious hope. Despite 2 years of silence. Despite the accident. Despite everything. Cassie, I called, forcing cheer into my voice. She turned. For half a second, her expression cracked. Annoyance. Disgust. Then it vanished. Matilda, she said coolly. You made it. As if she'd expected me not to. I swallowed and held out a small gift box wrapped in vintage rose-patterned paper. Inside were pearl earrings, antique, delicate. I'd searched estate sales for weeks to find them. She used to love pearls. Said they reminded her of Grandma. Cassie opened the box, glanced inside, and curled her lip. Second-hand, she said flatly. They look old. This doesn't match my Vera Wang dress at all. She dropped the box onto a table and turned back to her phone. Something inside my chest tightened, but I said nothing. I'd been trained not to. Be the bigger person, Matilda. Don't ruin her day. Then Cassie's eyes dropped. To my wheelchair. And her smile died. Cassie's gaze stayed fixed on my wheelchair longer than necessary. Her lips pressed into a thin line, the kind she used when something didn't go according to plan. I'd seen that look my entire childhood, right before she blamed me for something she'd broken. She leaned closer, lowering her voice so only I could hear. That thing, she whispered, eyes narrowed, looks like a lump of coal in the Garden of Eden. I blinked. My wheelchair? Yes, she snapped. That pitch-black monstrosity. It ruins the photos. Did you do this on purpose? Cassie, I said carefully, this is my chair. I need it. She straightened abruptly, heels clicking sharply against the stone path as she turned away without another word. I watched, confused, as she made a beeline for a service table stacked with extra linens. My stomach tightened. She grabbed a pristine white tablecloth and snapped it open mid-stride, the fabric cracking through the air like a whip. Guests nearby fell silent, watching with polite confusion. Cassie marched back toward me, fury barely contained behind her perfectly practiced smile. "Cover it," she ordered, thrusting the cloth toward me. "Right now. Before the photographer arrives." I stared at her. "What? Cover the chair." Her voice dropped. "You don't get to sabotage my engagement photos." Before I could react, she tried to drape the cloth over my legs, over me, as if I were broken furniture that didn't match her aesthetic. As if my disability were something shameful that needed hiding. Something inside me snapped. For 2 years, I'd accepted blame for an accident I didn't cause. 2 years of silence. 2 years of swallowing every insult for the sake of family peace. "No," I said. It was a small word. But it landed like a grenade. Cassie froze. Her face flushed red, blotchy patches creeping up her neck. "You ungrateful bitch," she hissed under her breath. She yanked the tablecloth back and stormed away, leaving behind whispers and uneasy glances. For the next hour, I stayed on the outskirts of the party, watching Cassie work the crowd. She laughed loudly. Hugged guests. Leaned in to whisper. And every whisper ended with eyes flicking toward me. Later, I would learn what she was telling them. That I had Munchausen syndrome. That I liked being in a wheelchair. That the accident wasn't that bad. That I was jealous of her happiness. Some people believed her. The photographer arrived just after sunset, expensive camera, man bun, confidence of someone used to rich clients. Cassie clapped her hands. "Family photos. Everyone gather." I stayed where I was, hoping, foolishly, that she'd leave me out of it. She didn't. Cassie's eyes locked onto mine. She gestured sharply. "Matilda. Over here." I rolled forward slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. The family assembled, our parents stiff and uncomfortable, Greg's parents politely confused, relatives filling the gaps. And there it was. A pink-ribboned banquet chair placed at the edge of the lineup. A regular chair. One I couldn't safely sit in. Cassie smiled sweetly. "Move the wheelchair aside. Sit there. I want the photo to look uniform." My voice stayed low. "Cassie, I have a T10 spinal injury. I don't have the core strength. I'll fall." Her smile didn't waver. "You're just so good at ruining things," she said softly. Then, leaning closer, she whispered, "Stand up, you fake." Then she grabbed me. Both hands under my arm. A violent yank upward. The world tilted. My hands clawed for the armrests, missed. Cassie stumbled back, saving herself. I wasn't so lucky. I was falling. Straight into the champagne tower. The first thing I heard was glass screaming. Not shattering, screaming. The champagne tower collapsed like a crystal waterfall, flutes exploding against marble, liquid spraying the air in glittering arcs. Someone gasped. Someone else shouted my name. I hit the ground hard. Pain didn't arrive immediately. Shock held it back, wrapped my nerves in cotton. I tasted blood. My cheek pressed against cold stone. Sticky champagne soaked my dress, sharp and sweet. For one terrifying second, I couldn't breathe. Then everything rushed in at once. Noise. Light. Pain, white-hot, ripping through my spine like fire. I screamed. The garden went dead silent. Cassie stood frozen, hands still half-raised, her face drained of color. The white tablecloth lay at her feet, stained pink and gold. "Oh my God," someone whispered. I heard footsteps running. Knees hit the ground beside me. A familiar voice, Greg's mother, shaking. "Don't move her. Someone call an ambulance. Now." Cassie found her voice then. "She fell," she said quickly. Too quickly. She just lost balance. My vision swam, but I turned my head enough to look at her. You pulled me, I said. My voice was raw, broken. You pulled me out of my chair. A ripple went through the crowd. That's not true, Cassie snapped, a little too loud. She's always exaggerating. She wanted attention. Look, she ruined everything. Her perfect engagement garden now looked like a crime scene, broken glass everywhere, champagne dripping from flower arrangements, guests frozen in shock. The photographer lowered his camera slowly. I got that on video, he said. Cassie's head whipped toward him. What? The whole thing, he continued, uneasy. I was doing a test recording. You grabbing her. Her falling. The silence after that was thick. Greg stepped forward. Cassie, he said carefully, did you touch her? Cassie laughed, a brittle, cracking sound. Greg, don't be ridiculous. She's been pretending since the accident. Doctors said she'd recover. That's a lie, my father said. Everyone turned. His hands were shaking. His voice wasn't. She didn't cause that accident, he continued. Cassie did. Cassie's mouth fell open. Dad. She was driving, he said. Texting. She ran the red light. Matilda took the impact. My mother covered her mouth. Greg took a step back from Cassie like she'd suddenly grown teeth. You told me, he said slowly, that she was behind the wheel. Cassie looked around, desperate now. I was protecting myself. You all always chose her anyway. The sirens wailed in the distance, too loud, too close. I felt hands gently stabilizing my neck. A paramedic's calm voice counted, checked, reassured. Stay with me. You're safe. Cassie's perfect day was unraveling thread by thread. The guests started murmuring, real murmurs now, not whispers. Phones came out. Someone helped Greg's mother sit down. The pink ribbon chair was kicked aside, forgotten. As they lifted me onto the stretcher, pain flared again, sharper this time. I cried out. Cassie rushed forward. Wait, Matilda, I didn't mean. Greg stepped between us. Don't touch her. His voice was flat. Final. As they wheeled me away, I saw Cassie standing alone in the ruined garden, dress soaked, makeup streaked, eyes wild. No applause. No photos. No engagement announcement. Just broken glass and truth. The ambulance doors closed. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't carrying her secret anymore. And she couldn't stand without it. Hospital lights are cruel. They don't let you hide. Everything smelled like antiseptic and panic. My body ached in places I didn't have words for, and every bump of the gurney sent a sharp reminder through my spine. Any numbness? The nurse asked. I don't know, I whispered. I always have numbness. She nodded gently, like she understood more than she said. They ran scans. CT MRI. Machines humming while I stared at the ceiling, counting cracks so I wouldn't cry. That's when Cassie showed up. I didn't hear her at first, just felt the air change. The room tightened. I should be allowed to see my sister, she said sharply at the door. A nurse replied calmly, only if the patient wants you here. Cassie's voice softened instantly. Matilda, please. I'm scared. I laughed. It came out hoarse and ugly. You weren't scared when you pulled me out of my chair. Her face twisted. I didn't pull you. You slipped. The nurse's eyes flicked between us. Get out, I said. Cassie stepped closer instead. You don't understand what you've done. Greg hasn't answered my calls. Dad won't look at me. You're destroying my life. I met her eyes. You destroyed mine first. Security arrived moments later. Polite. Firm. Cassie protested the whole way down the hall, voice cracking into something hysterical. She's lying, She's always been dramatic. The door shut. Silence, at last. An hour later, my parents came in. My mother cried immediately. Not loud sobs, quiet ones that soaked into my blanket. I should have listened, she kept saying. I should have protected you. My father stood stiffly at the foot of the bed. I failed you, he said. It looked like the hardest sentence he'd ever spoken. The doctor arrived with results. No new spinal damage. Severe bruising. Soft tissue trauma. A concussion. You were lucky, he said. Another angle, another fall, it could have been catastrophic. Lucky. I closed my eyes. Then came the knock. A police officer this time. Miss, he said gently, we need to take a statement. I told him everything. The accident. The lies. The wheelchair. The pull. He listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally, writing it all down. When I finished, he closed his notebook. There's video evidence, he said. And multiple witnesses. My stomach twisted. What does that mean? It means, he said carefully, this won't just disappear. The next morning, my phone exploded. Messages. Missed calls. Unknown numbers. Cassie is being investigated. Is it true she caused the accident? Engagement cancelled. Someone had leaked the video. I watched it once. Just once. Cassie's hands under my arms. The yank. My body folding midair. I turned it off before I could see myself hit the ground. Greg came later that afternoon. He didn't sit. Just stood there, eyes red. She told me you were manipulating everyone, he said. That you liked the sympathy. I swallowed. And now? He exhaled. Now I see who she really is. He left the ring on the bedside table. I'm sorry, he said. For believing her. When he walked out, I didn't feel victorious. I felt light. Like something heavy had finally been set down. Outside my window, the sun dipped low. For the first time, my life wasn't being narrated by her lies. The courtroom wasn't dramatic like in movies. No shouting. No gasps. Just wood, silence, and the weight of truth settling into every crack. Cassie sat across the room from me, smaller than I remembered. No designer dress. No perfect hair. Just a pale face and hands clenched so tight her knuckles had gone white. She didn't look at me. I did. The prosecutor played the video. Again. Cassie's hands. The pull. My body falling. The sound of glass shattering echoed through the room, even though there was no glass there. Just memory. Is that you in the video? The prosecutor asked. Cassie's voice barely carried. Yes. Did you place your hands on your sister and attempt to lift her from her wheelchair? Silence stretched. Yes, she whispered. A murmur rippled through the benches. Her lawyer stood quickly. She panicked. She didn't intend harm. The judge raised a hand. Intent doesn't erase action. My statement came next. I didn't cry. I talked about the accident. About waking up unable to feel my legs. About believing for 2 years that it was my fault. And then I talked about the garden. How it felt, I said, to be treated like a decoration that didn't match the theme. Cassie finally looked at me then. Her eyes were wet. Her mouth trembled. But she said nothing. The judge leaned forward. Miss Cassie, he said, you blamed your sister for an accident you caused. You concealed medical truth. And you physically endangered a disabled person. The words landed like stones. Cassie broke down. Not quietly. Full sobs. Shaking shoulders. Hands over her face. I didn't mean to ruin her life, she cried. I just didn't want to lose mine. The judge's voice stayed steady. And in trying to save yourself, you destroyed someone else's safety. The ruling came fast. Assault. Negligent endangerment. Civil liability. No prison. But probation. Mandatory counseling. Loss of her driver's license. And a civil judgment she'd be paying for years. I didn't feel happy. I felt finished. Outside the courthouse, cameras waited. "Do you have anything to say?" a reporter called. I paused. "Yes," I said. Believed disabled people the first time. That night, my phone buzzed with messages. Strangers. "Thank you for speaking. This happened to me too. I feel seen." I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and for the first time, the memory of the accident didn't crush me. It just existed. Cassie never called again. I heard she moved cities. Changed jobs. Changed her last name. Running, I guess. As for me? I kept the wheelchair. Not as a symbol of loss. But as proof I survived.